Good morning, everybody. I hope that you had a rest and you are full of force to continue our work. So let me open our second day of our seminar. And we have today two working sessions. And then after lunch, we had to adopt the main output of our seminar, the recommendations. So I wish you a fruitful work, and I give the floor to the moderator of the third session and the first one for today, Mrs. Anka Filip, who represents National Institute of Heritage in Bucharest and ICOMOS Scientific Committee on Places of Religion and Rituals. So, Mrs. Anka, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Our session refers to challenges in governance and management of the World Heritage properties, perspective of cooperation and involvement of all stakeholders, including religious communities and experts in the field of museumification of World Heritage properties. We have 5 presentations and a session of discussion until the program break. So I propose to respect the time that we have, which means 15 minutes. I give the floor to Mrs. Tudor Andriu, which is Chief Architect in Suceava County Council and also responsible for the World Heritage Site, Churches of Moldavia, Romanian World Heritage Site. Please.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. So, do I have the remote for the slides? Can I have the remote for the slides? Yeah. So, the churches of Moldavia use protection and conservation. Thank you. My presentation will have 3 subchapters. First of all, a few words about the legislative framework regarding religion and the religious heritage in Romania. Then a brief presentation of the religious heritage from Romania inscribed on the World Heritage List. And then the main issues regarding use, protection and conservation of churches of Moldavia, property inscribed in the World Heritage List. The Romanian constitution provides religious freedom and autonomous of religion cults to the state. Even in 1948, the newly installed communist regime issued the law of the general regime of religious cults, recognizing 14 religious cults and according them religious freedom. Among them, there are Orthodox, Roman Catholic, Armenian Gregorian, Reformed, Evangelical Lutheran, Presbyterian, Unitarian, Mosaic. But 11 years later, in 1959, communist authorities closed a great numbers of monasteries and hermitages, transforming them in parish churches. The parish churches were maintained in function, but no more churches were allowed to be built until 1989. After 1999, most of the monasteries and hermitages were re-established. Today, over 87% of Romanian population is Christian Orthodox. The Christian Orthodox heritage in Romania is owned by the Romanian Orthodox Church, which is autonomous to the state and also to other institutions. The most valuable historical religious heritage is inscribed on the list of historical monuments of Romania and protected by the law of historical monuments. In 1990, Romania accepted the World Heritage Convention and adopted specific legislation for its national implementation beginning with the year 2000. In 2010, by government decision, was approved the protection and management program for historical monuments inscribed on the World Heritage List, and was set up an organization committee for every property inscribed on the World Heritage List. This committee was formed by the coordinator of the monument, appointed by the county council, and of representatives of the owner, of the local community, of the county council, of the county inspector for emergency situation, of the county police inspectorate, of the Ministry of Culture, and the National Institute of Heritage. So all the stakeholders were part of this World Committee. I will present now the religious heritage inscribed on the World Heritage List. On the list there are inscribed the following: Churches of Moldavia, which is a serial cultural property. This group of 8 churches dating from the 15th and the 16th century, 2 parish churches and 6 monastery churches, are the highest expression of the Moldavian style, which represents the original synthesis of architecture and art, characterized by Byzantine plans raised with Gothic influences. This style came together with a spiritual religious program consisting of the complete covering of all facades, including the external ones, with complex cycles of religious themes. They are the masterpieces of mural painting and are outstanding aesthetic value in view of their consummate chromatism and remarkable elegance of the figures. During the administration of the Habsburg monarchy between 1774 and 1804, the Austrian Empire 1804 till 1867, and Austria-Hungary 1867 till 1918. So between 1774 and 1918, on northern Moldavia, 5 of these 6 monasteries were closed and transformed in parish churches. 3 of them were re-established only recently, after 1989. The serial cultural property Churches of Moldavia is composed of 8 churches located in Suceava County in the historical Romanian region, Moldavia. These churches are churches of beheading of Saint John the Baptist of Arbore, dating from 1503. A church of the Assumption of the Virgin of the Monastery of Humor, dating from 1530. Churches of the Annunciation of the Monastery of Moldovița from 1532. Church of the Holy Road in Pătrăuți, 1487. Church of St. Nicholas of Monastery of Probota, 1530. Church of St. George of St. John the New, Monastery of Suceava, from 1540. It was built till 1522. And the Church of the Resurrection of the Monastery of Sucevița, 1582 till 1584. This one is the last one inscribed in 2010. And last but not least, Church of the St. George of Monastery of Voronezh, 1488. This is probably the most famous one. Also on the World Heritage List, Monastery of Voronezh in Wallachia is the largest monastic establishment in Romania, always in service as a monastic establishment. The ensemble, consisting of the Monastery of Voronezh and 5 hermitages and churches depending on the main monastery, was built at the beginning of the 18th century. The main monastery represents the highest expression of the Romanian Renaissance, known as Brâncovan style, named after the founder, Prince Constantin Brâncoveanu. This style represents a synthesis between the Oriental Byzantine art and the Western art. especially the Venetian one. The spiritual and artistic school of mural and icon painting, established at the Monastery of Voronezh in the early 18th century, exhibited a profound influence on religious art and architecture in the Balkan region, spreading from Wallachia into Orthodox neighborhood. The wooden churches of Maramuresh, a serial of cultural property located in northern part of Romania. These churches are outstanding examples of vernacular religious wooden architecture resulting from the interchange of Orthodox religious tradition with Gothic influences in a specific vernacular interpretation of timber construction, showing a high level of artistic maturity and craft skills. Villages with fortified churches in Transylvania. They are a serial culture property providing a vivid picture of the cultural landscape of southern Transylvania. These villages with the fortified churches are characterized by the specific land use system, settlement pattern, and organization of the family farmstead units preserved since the Middle Ages, dominated by their fortified churches, which illustrate the building periods from the 13th to the 16th century. These were Saxon villages. Although these evangelical churches lost their defensive role in the 18th century, the most of the Transylvanian Saxons no longer live in Romania. These churches continue to be in service and as places of worship, being the focus of the community life. We're talking about the churches of Moldavia, the protection and conservation of the religious heritage together with its active use raise specific issues and challenges. So now I will refer to the property churches of Moldavia. And speaking of conservation or restoration, this conservation and restoration works are developed with national government and local financial resources, with European funds and with the own funds of the monastery and parish churches. The conservation and restoration work raise specific issues, not only regarding the high quality standard needed for this intervention, but also because they are developing while the churches are still in service and the monasteries also in service, performing the usual program for offices and major celebrations. As you can see, the works of conservation and restoration developed in these active places of religion and worship are made by specialists and experts certified by the Romanian Ministry of Culture and National Heritage. Local expertise is also developed. Some members of the religious community were specialized in conservation and restoration of this cultural heritage. Talking about the cultural and religious tourism, one of the most important issues is also represented by the religious cultural tourism, which is not at the same level in all 8 historical monuments composing the property churches in Moldavia. Where needed, the owners and the local authorities are managing the high level of visitation. You can see on the right slide a group of visitors. This happens like all the time, all the year. All these churches are living religious world heritage. The use of this religion heritage raises also special issues regarding the protection during offices, especially at the major celebrations when gather a great number of people. The major celebrations are the Day of the Protector Saint at Sucevița Monastery and the Resurrection in Voronezh Monastery. The pilgrimage. These churches are monasteries, these churches and monasteries are also places of pilgrimage, and at the relics of saints, attracting a great number of pilgrims all the time, but mostly at the celebration of the saints. Yeah. I'm almost done. Pilgrimage at the relic St. John the New, attracting a huge number of pilgrims in St. John, the new monastery of Suceava. Building development in the buffer zone of Humor Monastery. Between the factors affecting the cultural property, one of the most challenging is the building development pressure manifested in the buffer zones, which sometimes represent a source of tension relationship between the religious communities of the monasteries and local communities and authorities. Despite the legal framework and the regulation given by the general town plan and the localities with World Heritage properties, which are meant to enable active control of the building and other works inside the buffer zone and in the landscape environment of the cultural churches and monasteries, the pressure for housing and developing visitor accommodation is very high. Building development in the buffer zone of Sucevița Monastery. These are the few of the specific issues raised by the active use, protection, conservation, and restoration of the serial cultural properties churches in Moldavia inscribed in the World Heritage List. Thank you.
Now I invite Mr. Getu Asefa Vondimu, National Professional Officer for Culture, UNESCO Addis Ababa Liaison Office, who will present rock-hewn churches of Lalibela as living religious world heritage in Ethiopia, participatory management and sustainable use. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us for this important meeting. Yesterday, we presented as part of the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. This church is among the very important sites we have in Ethiopia. We have 9 World Heritage sites, a big number in Africa next to Morocco and within Morocco and South Africa. This is one of the churches. It's called St. Mary Church. And as you see, this church is hewn out of one rock. They dig the surrounding, and the stone, out of one stone, they made the whole house with a door, with different rooms within the churches. I will explain also later on. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay. Let's speak a little bit about the location of the place. Oh, sorry. Okay. In Africa, Ethiopia is found in the northeastern part of Africa, and these churches are found. Okay. These churches are found in the northern part of, yeah. This is where we are finding this exact location. This is in Africa where we are found. So this is the exact location for those of you who want to come and visit the churches. Next slide. Oh, okay, sorry. When we see from top, the site comprises, in general, about 11 rock-hewn churches. 5 of them are completely isolated from the stone, and the rest are attached in one part with the side. And this is the city and the churches are found in this place. So these 11 rock-hewn churches of Lalibela inscribed in 1978, and that means they are among the first 12 World Heritage Sites inscribed by UNESCO. They are built in the 12th century, so it dates now about from 800 to 900 years ago. It's a living heritage still used by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and it is the main tourist attraction in the country. This is one of the churches, one of the 11 churches called Emmanuel. So the churches have all kinds of heritage, both movable, immovable, and intangible heritage. This, this one is the one of the on the ceremonies of the churches. There are we have what we call the tabut in Amharic. It is the sacred object of the church, and this is also one of the objects as old as the churches. We have also crosses as old as the churches. So we have all types of objects in this World Heritage Site. As you can see, this is also one of the important churches, which is curved like in a cross shape out of one rock, as I told you earlier. The churches were constructed in a traditional way, hewn from the hewn monolithic blocks. The blocks were chiseled out, forming the churches with doors, windows, columns, various floors, roofs. So really it's amazing. 800 years ago, people living at that time are making this kind of construction, architectural construction. As you can see, first they dig out the surrounding. Okay, they dig out the surrounding, and they isolated the inner part, and they made this into the house. You can see this is a door, and there are many within the church. There are many parts. This work was completed with an extensive system of drainage ditch, which we are going to see. It has the 11 churches have an amazing drainage system which takes all the water out of the churches. These churches are one of the most amazing man-made constructions in the world, and they fulfill criteria 1. They are fulfilling 3 criteria, as explained by my colleague yesterday. Each of the churches are different in style and has its own unique features. There are 11 churches, and each has their own unique features. The churches, as you can see, this shows how the ditches are working, you see, for the flow of water. This is the first church, which we call the Holy Savior. Next, you get through the inner door to the next church, and you continue like this. So this is the type of construction they did. So these 11 churches are interconnected. The churches are great sources of religious and architectural inspiration when it comes to criteria number 2, with their architectural elements and are very much refined. 5 of the churches are strictly monolithic, completely detached from the rock and made to the house out of one rock. The churches are within a very short distance from one another. Let's see how the churches are working. Can you please open this link? Yes, this is a 2 minutes motion picture. As you can see, these are how the churches are isolated. Look, it's surrounding. And this one is churches. It's completely detached from the rock and made to the house. And this is the biggest one. We call it Holy Savior. You see, the tunnels are very perfect, and they take all the waters out of the side. And this is one of the churches. We call it Saint Gabriel, Raphael Church, together. And this is Saint Emmanuel's Church. You see how it's detached, and it's amazing when you. These are the ditches, which also used as a movement from a church to a church. Okay, this is, as I told you, one of the churches, which is made in the shape of the cross. It's called Saint George Church. Okay, gonna stop now. Let's continue to this slide. The time we take for technical problems is not counting. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's continue. This is in relation to criteria 3, the spirituality life of the churches. The churches are still place of active worship. After 8 centuries, the churches and their treasuries indicate a continuation of the former kingdom. This is during the Zagwe dynasty. These churches were built during the Zagwe dynasty, and before the Zagwe dynasty we have the Aksumite kingdoms. So this is a continuation. This is a great resemblance between the art and architectural traditions between the two kingdoms. And there are also variety of cross styles on the windows, on the curved on the windows. And this is also at the top, you see, this is the traditional houses which were built at that time. It's a thatched roof, but it is a 2-story houses. And this is a traditional earthen architecture found in these areas. And most of these buildings were found within the sides, the compound of the sides. And as I told you, we have a big celebration about 3 or 4 times within a year. This is one of the biggest celebrations during the time of the Ethiopian Christmas. By the way, we have our own calendar, different from yours. This year it is 2010 in our country. We are younger by 8 years than you. We have our own, in addition to calendar, we have also our own alphabets. A large number of people is coming during this time. And in fact, this creates a pressure on the property. One of the prayers we have is during the time of the pilgrimage. The association of the Lalibela with the Holy Land of Jerusalem. When the king, these churches were built by King Lalibela, who was a saint king. And the idea was to create the Jerusalem in Ethiopia for pilgrimage. So the rock tradition is also associated to the Jesus Christ, which were a cave in Bethlehem and the carved rock in Golgotha, respectively. So in addition to the churches, the surrounding area is also very attractive, and the landscape is really very unique. The setting of Lalibela World Heritage Site is defined not by property alone, it's also by the surrounding mountains. The hills as well as the mountain landscape provide a unique backdrop. It is an ideal spot for the religious function of the churches. So as you can see, we have intangible heritage, which was played by the girls. We have this tradition, which is a long tradition, making different kind of books and pictures out of parchment. Out of parchment. This is not on paper, out of parchment, the skin of goats. And these are the religious, the monks who are living in the rock, within the rock, and they are using this as a religious. And when it comes to management of the churches, there is a participation, active participation of both the churches and the government. We have two important stakeholders within us. One is my colleague who presented yesterday from the government. Ms. Ai is in charge of all the World Heritage, management of all the World Heritage sites in Ethiopia. And His Holiness Abba Tsigge is also with us. He is in charge of the Rock-hewn church site representing the church. So this is the time when we are discussing about the boundary delineation of the site, the management plan preparation of the site, and also legal protections, which is explained by Ms. I yesterday. So as you can see, the church authorities, this person is a state minister of culture and tourism, and His Holiness is also the administrator of the site. So this is professor from Addis Ababa University, and there are many stakeholders which are participating in the management of the site. When it comes to the conservation, the sites have really man-made and natural threats which are affecting the site. As you can see, as you can see, there is a crack on the churches because this is due to the long time rain and sun. Because these churches are about 800 to 900 years old. So one of the problems affecting these churches is rain, water, and water also from the ground. There is also a salt effect on the sculpture, some of the sculptures of the statues. Oh, sorry. And this is one of the problems we have with in relation to the conservation of the churches. As you can see, in the past there was an attempt to restore the churches, but it is a wrong kind of restoration, and it have a negative impact on the churches. As you can see, these are not appropriate restorations. So to protect from the rain, we are forced to use plastics for some time until we get a solution to make a proper restoration. But finally, UNESCO did a study which takes about 8 years and came up with a solution to restore the churches. And the churches started to be restored, and the local community also involved in the restoration of the churches. So this is this shows one of the involvement of the local stakeholders. This is international cooperation. One of the churches were protected by, this shelter, which was constructed by the support from the European Union to protect them from the rain. This is a temporary solution. This is not as a temporary solution. So we need to remove this after the conservation on the churches has been done. So the American government donated some amount, and some of the churches restored. This is the celebration after the restoration of the churches, two of the restoration of the churches. And when it comes to tourism, the local community should also benefit from tourism. This is how the local communities rent mules and to the tourists. And the tourists are very happy with the visit to the churches. And this is also respect for spiritual life. When you visit these 11 churches, it's not allowed to go into the churches with wearing shoes. you need to take out your shoes. This shows that when tourists take out and wear their shoes, because this is a respect for the spiritual life of the site. So one of the important things I wanted to show is after the site inscribed on the World Heritage Site, gradually the spiritual value of the site eroded because of some modern activities. Like there are many bars now in the places. There are disco houses. There are so not only the tourists but the locals also engage in these non-spiritual activities. Gradually, this spiritual value of the site eroded. So one of the things we need to do with the help of these guidelines, which is the result of this workshop, is also to have support for the protection of the OUV, the spiritual OUV of the site. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now I invite Mrs. Bushran Abbas, head of the World Heritage Section, Department of Antiquities in Jordan, and the co-author of the presentation is Mr. Hussam Hiazen, Director of Site Management Directorate, Department of Antiquities, Ministry of Culture of Jordan. With the presentation, Baptist Site, Bethany Beyond the Jordan, Al-Maghtas.
So, good morning, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank Ukraine for inviting us, and we're really honored to be representing Jordan here. We will be talking about the baptism site, Bethany Beyond the Jordan, and about how in Jordan we are trying to manage the World Heritage Site to sustain and enhance its OUV. So first of all, I will start about a brief introduction about the site. The site is located in the Jordan Valley, north of the Dead Sea, and it contains two main archaeological areas, Tel el-Kharar, or also known as Jabal Mar Elias, and the area of the churches of St. John the Baptist. And the site is believed to be the location where Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist. Here we can see a map of the site. The area inside the red line is the core area of the site, and inside the blue line is the buffer zone. And here is the visitor center. So the site features Roman and Byzantine remains, including churches and chapels, a monastery, caves that have been used by hermits, and pools where the baptism were celebrated, testifying to the religious character of the place. So here is an aerial photograph of the site. So here is the core area of the site, and here we can see how far is the visitor center in the buffer zone of the site. So the baptism site is the latest to be inscribed on the World Heritage List in Jordan in 2015 under criteria 3 and 6. Its outstanding universal value is manifested in the physical remains associated with the commemoration of the historic baptism event, which include the features that I already mentioned, the water collection system and the pool, the churches and chapels, and the crucifixion baptism pool and the pilgrimage station. So how can we sustain this OUV for the future generations? First of all, the site, the location that was described as where Jesus was baptized was described as a wilderness. So therefore, the green wilderness along the Jordan River is essential to maintain this attribution. So despite the large number of visitors and pilgrims who come to visit the site, the wilderness feeling still exists in the site, which is enhanced by the natural materials and the simple local construction technology used in the site. So Bethany Beyond the Jordan is of immense religious significance to the majority of denominations of the Christian faith, and it is a Christian place of pilgrimage, and and people who come to visit continue to engage in the baptism ritual. And people come from all over the world to visit the site. In 2016, the site welcomed more than 81,000 visitors, and the number is increasing year by year. And the continuation of pilgrimage and veneration of the site is a credible expression of the spirit and feelings attributed to it. Also, as a continuation of the baptism ritual and an important religious site, several Christian churches desire to have their presence at the site. Therefore, locations outside the site, outside the core area in the buffer zone, are allocated and still continue to be allocated for the construction of new churches. So here we might argue that the new construction in a World Heritage Site can jeopardize or can negatively impact on the authenticity. However, these construction will not affect or negatively affect the authenticity, and now I will explain to you how we're trying to do that. First of all, I will talk a bit about the planned churches. So as we said, here is the core area of the site. The planned churches are planned to be constructed here in the buffer zone, close enough to the core archaeological site, but not inside of it. And here is the list of the churches to be either already built or to be constructed. Let's say the Coptic church is under construction and the Maronite church is not built yet. The Russian pilgrimage house is also under construction. So it is a list of what's being planned, what already built or planned to be built. So the purpose of these churches is to enable the continuation of the pilgrimage tradition and the worship and practice of the baptism events. So the question arises here is how to maintain and sustain the OUV in the light of the new development in the site and the request to construct new churches. First of all, I will talk about the protection and management of the site. The site is, the property is designated as an antiquity site under antiquity law, which prohibits any destruction, any damage, any alteration to the antiquity itself, and regulates the development works around it. So the property and its buffer zone are protected by the Jordan Valley Authority laws, and on the site level, we have the Baptism Site Commission responsible for the management of the site. The Baptism Site Commission is run by a board of trustees appointed by His Majesty the King Abdullah and chaired by Prince Ghazi bin Muhammad. All the revenues from the site are dedicated exclusively for the management and the conservation of the site. Also, a construction moratorium was issued and signed by the highest authority level in Jordan to prevent any new construction, except for those exclusively dedicated to the protection of the archaeological remains. Also, to manage the movement and the circulation of the visitors to the site, the roads in the sites are very simple in design and only provide access to the churches and other important structure in the site, and ends at a distance from the main archaeological zone. And after that, the visitors can use the marked paths and trails of compacted earth that are unobtrusive and in harmony with the site. Those pedestrian trails facilitate the movement of the visitors and their accessibility to the churches and have minimal impact on the site. So the veneration of the place and the presence of several churches, communities, and the continuity of the pilgrimage add a level of traditional protection to the site. And it's really important to mention that it's not in the interest of the Christian communities that the property change in character. The spirit of the character, the most important thing is to keep the spirit of and the character of the site maintained for future generation. Therefore, the visitations are arranged with respect to the site's significance. If a large group is coming to the site, they have to contact the Baptism Site Commission and inform them how many people are coming to facilitate the visits. In addition, in the Department of Antiquity, several consultation meetings with the representatives of the various Christian denominations took place before in the beginning of the construction of the churches, and these meetings were to discuss and brainstorm and propose a draft for the guidelines to build the new churches. As a result of these meetings, an extensive construction guidelines has been prepared by the Department of Antiquity for the planned new structures in the buffer zone. In addition, the churches and the planned pilgrimage village are further considered through a comprehensive HIA, Heritage Impact Assessment, before any approval is granted for the construction. If any denomination want to plan a new church in the site, they have to contact the Baptism Site Commission and show them the plans, sections, elevations, also the 3D drawings of the churches before taking any approval. So how is that being done? The design and construction guidelines that were set for the new churches in the buffer zone regulate the following aspects. Most of them talk about the design of the churches. Let's say for the setting and context, the churches should have a relationship with the neighboring properties, and the relation should be respected between them. The churches should be designed in sympathy with the scale, the massing, and the layout style of existing churches. So no church should outcome or have more attention than other churches. As for the archaeological site, classical architectural style should be followed for each denomination. So let's say the Gothic style, they can build a church in the Gothic style, Coptic style, sorry, and it should be also respectful for the whole site. Of course, no steel, no modern materials will be used, and the colors used should be muted tones with earthy colors. For the environment and climatic consideration, it's preferable to use natural ventilation instead of ACs and electricity. What else? In the height and scale, the maximum height for the churches should not exceed 35 meters, not to affect the view of the site. So the contemporary religious structures with the diverse architectural styles. So each church will have its own architectural style, which will also represent the diversity of the Christians around the world. Also, it will relieve the pressure of the fragile architectural layers of the site. So any celebrations such as the baptism and the epiphany, among the others, can be held in the churches instead of inside the archaeological site. Inside the contemporary, I mean. So this will allow the site to perform religious services and allow pilgrims to stay in the vicinity of the sites. Instead of being inside the archaeological site, they can be in the churches. So here we can see examples of the sites, the churches to be built. Here is the Maronite church, not built yet, and here's the Greek Catholic Church. So each denomination have to submit these 3D drawings to the Baptism Site Commission. They have also to present plans, sections, elevations, the material, circulations, and everything before getting any approval. Also, here is the Anglican Church to the left and the Ethiopian Church to the right. And thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I invite Madame Eugenia Gerussi, Head of the Directorate of the Management of the National Archive of Monuments, Hellenic Ministry of Culture and Sports, focal point for World Heritage Convention. Madame Gerussi will present management of the monuments of religious interest in Greece, 3 different cases. Please,
thank you. So, one of the most exceptional and elegant forms in Byzantine architecture is the so-called Greek cross octagon, created in the 11th century AD. Greece has 3 monuments of this type included in the World Heritage List as a serial nomination, namely Osios Loukas, Daphne, and Nea Moni. The requirements of their management are completely different, which neatly demonstrates the diversity of problems we encounter in works requiring a collaboration of the Ministry of Culture, that means the state authority that is responsible for the protection of monuments, and the monastic or ecclesiastical communities. These 3 monasteries of the Middle Byzantine period are geographically distant from each other. Osios Loukas, you see, near Delphi, Daphne near Athens, and Neamoni is on the island of Chios in the North Aegean. Even so, they all belong to the same typological series and share the same aesthetic and architectural characteristics. The elaborate structure of a crossing square plan allows the implementation of an extensive iconographic and decorative plan. The three examples here being discussed are the most representative by virtue of the perfection of their architecture, the beauty of their mosaics set off against the golden background, the volume of well paintings, and in general, their most satisfactory state of conservation. The monastery of Osios Loukas lies to the west of Mount Helicon in central Greece, within a well-preserved natural environment. In the monastery complex, two imposing churches of the Middle Byzantine period stand side by side, the Church of Panagia and the Catholicon. The Catholicon is lavishly decorated with superb mosaics, outstanding examples of Middle Byzantine art. The monastery is a place of cult, having been in continuous use for centuries, with a small resident monastic communities. Over the centuries, it has experienced many adventures. One such occurred during the Nazi occupation of the country. In the area of Mount Helicon, there were active resistance bands who often regrouped at the monastery for resupplying or protection. This resulted in the bombing of the trapeza, as you see here, and by the Nazi troops, and as a result, significant damage was incurred mainly to the monks' places of residence. In the years after the Second World War, the remaining monks were few and old, with the obvious result that the entire complex came to resemble a picture of utter abandonment, until the archaeological department took charge of the restoration of the trapeza and the conservation of the monuments, mosaics, and frescoes. After the restoration processes, the trapeza was transformed into a museum where mainly pieces of sculptural decoration of the Byzantine era were gathered and exhibited. Since the 1980s, when the active current Archbishop of Greece, Hieronymus, was elected as the Metropolitan of the area, the monastic community has revived. The cell complexes are now in good repair, and the monastery's activities have multiplied. The communities in the surrounding villages support these activities and help the few but now active monks in their work. At the same time, the monument attracts large numbers of visitors. In each season of the year, the types of visitors vary: school groups, groups of senior citizens, individuals, and so on. A separate category includes the so-called religious tourists. They come to pay their respects to the relics of Osios Loukas, to attend the various religious ceremonies. And the proximity of the monastery to the famous archaeological site of Delphi, also a monument of UNESCO's World Heritage List, helps to make the number of visitors disproportionately large in some seasons. The collaboration of the archaeological service with the monastic communities and the ecclesiastical authorities has not always been an easy one. Problems have arisen, as have misunderstandings and mismanagement on both sides. The priority and the responsibility of the archaeological service, as is natural, was to preserve the authenticity of the monument and protect it from any danger. The monastic community had as priority, of course, the religious use of the monument. Though the monks felt the same desire for the preservation of its authenticity, they naturally at times lacked the necessary knowledge and specialization to achieve it. Following an agreement with the Ministry of Culture and on completion of the extensive mosaic conservation in the Catholicon, liturgies are regularly held now in the Church of Panagia, which has no mosaics, and are attended these liturgies both by monks and by the local population. Exceptional ceremonies, however, do still take place in the Catholicon of Osios Loukas. These include the liturgies and customs connected to the Easter week, like the decoration of the epitafios with flowers on Good Friday by the women of the nearby villages. By implementing specific legal regulations, the Ministry of Culture also succeeded in protecting the unique landscape surrounding the monastery. Only rural activity in the area is permitted, thus preventing any further industrial, building, or mining operations. In the case of the monastery of Osios Loukas, we could say that a good example of cooperation between state and church authorities has come to pass. Very different, though, is the story of the second monument, that of the monastery of Daphne. The Byzantine monastery of Daphne, located on the ancient road from Athens to Eleusis, the so-called Ieraodos, or sacred way of the antiquity, faces other types of problems. The monastery was abandoned by its last monastic community already in the beginning of the 19th century. The whole complex was used during the Independence War of 1821 as a storeroom for ammunition, and later, by the end of the 19th century, as a lunatic asylum. During the 20th century, Eleusis, which is to the south, was the main industrial center of the Greek state, hosting the heaviest and most polluting industries. The ancient sacred way, Ieraodos, that led from the Acropolis to the famous archaeological sanctuary of Eleusis, was transformed into a highway, as you see here. It also became the main road linking Athens to southern Greece, that is the Peloponnese. This development resulted in the northern enclosure wall of the monastery, forming the boundary of the national road with its heavy and continuous traffic. The entire north side of the monument's surrounding area was significantly altered as a result. The Catholicon, dating back to the 11th century AD, is of outstanding quality, both in its construction and for the interior decoration of sumptuous polychrome marble revetments and superb mosaics. The whole complex also suffered severe damages during both the 1981 and 1999 earthquakes that affected the region of Attica. A multidisciplinary working group was formed by the Ministry of Culture to assess the nature and significance of the damages sustained and to develop a strategic plan for the protection, conservation, and restoration of the monument, its mosaics included. Due to its severe level of devastation, the monument is still completely enclosed in scaffolding and braced by steel supports. The final phase of the conservation and restoration program is now nearing completion. The location of the monument on a main road, its many years of abandonment, and the dangerous condition resulting have required many years of maintenance work. The inhabitants of the surrounding areas practice their religious ceremonies in other new churches. On completion of its restoration, it is probable to become a monument open to visitors and to a museum important for its architecture and mosaic decoration, as well as a testament to the innovative methods of restoration achieved even after two devastating earthquakes within just 20 years. So we are not so sure if in the future some specific religious ceremonies may take place there too. The third monument to be discussed is Neamoni on the island of Chios. It is a foundation whose debt to the artistic developments of Constantinople is evident. The foundation of the monastery is ascribed to three hermits from Chios, Nikitas, Ioannis, and Iosif, who, according to the legend, found a miraculous icon hanging from the branches of a myrtle tree on the site of the present Catholicon. Their prophecy that the emperor, Constantine Monomachos, who was then in exile, would ascend to the throne was fulfilled unexpectedly in 11th century, and this bound the three fathers to the emperor, who carried out his promises to them with great liberality. Constantine is said to have sent both the architect and the mosaicist from Constantinople to work on the church. Up to the 19th century, Neamoni was one of the richest and most famous monasteries in the Aegean Sea. It played an important part in the life of the island and attracted the attention of many travelers. Its decline was precipitated mainly by the massacre of 1822 on the island. On that occasion, the monastery was captured by the Ottomans, who killed the monks. Many places were dug up in the hunt of treasures, and the whole monastery remained abandoned for years. The final blow came later with the great earthquake of 1881. After the last World War, it was inhabited by a few old nuns, and recently it is again inhabited by a few monks. The Catholicon of Neamoni remains intact, apart from some restoration works carried out in the late 19th century after the earthquake of 1881. It has preserved its authentic mosaic decoration and the marble revetment below, even its original pavement. The present restoration and conservation work aims at restoring and consolidating the original decorative and structural elements. And these works have already been implemented. The monastic community that occupies the monastery now consists of very few monks who are too old to undertake activities of this sort themselves. The management of the complex is exercised by the Ministry of Culture in collaboration with the Holy Metropolis of the island. Here again, the cooperation has not always been conducted with sufficient understanding of the many problems existing on both sides. Occasionally, this failing has created obstacles to the work on the monument. The monastery receives many guests, and religious ceremonies are quite commonly conducted, as both the present inhabitants of the whole island and the many expatriate Hiots who return consider the monastery a sacred place and visit it to worship. This large community of the whole island is a problem because there is a polyphony, there is not a small local community with whom the ministry can have a collaboration, and we are working towards to build a committee of both the state and the metropolis so that the collaboration can go on without problems. Many volunteers also help and are working in the monastery. The main danger faced by the monument is from forest fires, as it is surrounded by coniferous forests, and the winds that blow on the island are often strong. The three examples I have mentioned above illustrate different management patterns and levels of cooperation between the relevant state service and the local and ecclesiastical communities. Their stories are indicative of the complex problems that arise in the protection of monuments of religious interest in Greece and, I believe, in many other European countries. The UNESCO World Heritage List includes from Greece other monuments of religious interest with related but totally different management problems, such as Mount Athos and Meteora, which are also presented in this meeting. Another case is the Byzantine monuments of Thessaloniki, which are embedded in the urban fabric of the city and are used as parish churches with daily religious ceremonies. Quite different again is the case of the religious monuments in the archaeological site of Mistra, which are rarely used for religious ceremonies. Each case has its peculiarities. We hope that the guidelines to be adopted by UNESCO can help to solve the problems that arise periodically in the management of these monuments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now I invite Mrs. Nelia Kukowalska, Director General, National Conservation Area, St. Sofia of Kiev. Madam Kukowalska will present National Conservation Area, St. Sofia of Kiev, best practices of the cooperation of museum and religious community in common use of the monuments of world and national importance.
Thank you.
Please.
Доброго дня, шановні колеги. Я дуже рада вас бачити в Києві. Ми з вами іноді зустрічаємось на міжнародних форумах, і те, що ви сьогодні в Києві, це для нас велика повага. І ще раз рада бачити вас всіх. Сьогодні моя буде доповідь присвячена досвіду нашого, достатньо великого, співпраці з релігійними організаціями, які працюють в наших музеях, в наших пам'ятках сакральних. Ну, але дуже коротесенько історію, чому музей і чому релігія. Україна – це територія, яка має дуже давню традицію християнську. І ще більше 1000 років тому Володимир Хреститель освячував цю територію. І на території тоді будувалися за рахунок князів величезні храми, в тому числі і Софія, про яку ми будемо говорити, як митрополичий храм Київської Русі. Інші об'єкти теж будувалися за рахунок князівських коштів, потім і за рахунок релігійних організацій, общин. З початком революції 1917 року і приходу на цю територію радянської влади і комуністичної імперії всі храми були забрані в релігійних громад, всі вони стали державними, багато зруйновано було. Багато священнослужителів закінчили своє життя в лагерях, багато було розстріляних. І з приходом незалежності української в 1991 ситуація кардинально змінилася. На той час, як і зараз, існує декілька таких концепцій, як управляти пам'ятками, які були дуже довгий час в державній власності і в яких перебували чи то склади, чи то бібліотеки, чи то клуби, чи ще щось. Звичайно, громада, яка 70 років була відлучена від духовності, а в нашій спадковості, у наших генах є духовність велика нашої нації, звичайно, хотілося зразу всі храми віддати церковним громадам. Що було в більшості і зроблено, в тому числі пам'ятки національного значення, були передані у власність громад. Але багато таких об'єктів залишилося і у власності церкви. Але не дивлячись на негатив радянського періоду, все ж таки був невеликий позитив і там. Скажімо, такі храми, які залишилися в якості музею, могли досліджуватися ґрунтовно, детально, з точки зору історії, мистецтва, архітектури. Вони мали можливість професійно реставруватися і зберігатися до цього часу. Ну, і є такі дві тенденції. Або віддати повністю храми релігійним громадам, або все ж таки не віддавати і залишити їх у державній власності, в музеях. І кожна концепція має право на своє життя. Є прихильники тієї і тієї. У нас в нашій діяльності вийшла, я думаю, що така консенсусна ситуація, яка поєднала в собі і ту частину сторонників першої теорії, і ту частину сторонників другої теорії. Ну і тепер про нашу практику. Національний заповідник Софія Київська – це є величезний музейний комплекс. Він 1990 року війшов разом з Києво-Печерською лаврою, де ви вчора були, до списку всесвітньої спадщини ЮНЕСКО під номером 527. Я ще визначаю, що 1990 рік – це ще не є незалежність, це ще Радянський Союз. Але тим не менше. Ось як виглядає сьогодні комплекс. Я буду рада вас сьогодні вітати ввечері в нас на екскурсії. Ви зможете познайомитися з нашими чудовими пам'ятками, яким ми опікуємося. От Софійський собор, пам'ятка 11 століття першої половини. Я вже говорила про князя Володимира, який хрестив Русь. Так от він і засновував цей Києво-Софіївський собор разом з своєю візантійською принцесою Анною Порфірородною в Києві, як великий митрополичий храм. До 1900 він будувався за кошти князівські, і до 1934 року тут не припинялися служби. За цю історію свою він мав різні періоди, і успішні, і неуспішні, переходив з одних рук в інші. А в 1934 році припинилися богослужіння, все начиння було вивезене, і з 1936 року на цій території відкрився музей, що дає можливість його досліджувати. Другий музейний комплекс – це пам'ятка архітектури 12 століття Кирилівська церква, якою теж ми опікуємося. Вона була до 1929 року церквою, потім припинилися служби, і вона війшла до складу музею. В 1965 році вона вже була в складі заповідника Софія Київська. І одна, і друга будувалася, як я вже підкреслювала, за рахунок князівських коштів. Андріївська церква – це теж наш об'єкт, окраса нашого Києва, чудове творіння італійського архітектора Франческо Бартоломео Ростреллі. Побудована була в 18 столітті, до 35-го року була теж церквою, і в 35-му році йшла до музею, музейне містечко, а потім до складу заповідника Софія Київська. І так, в складі заповідника Софія Київська існує 6 музеїв. Ось вони всі тут є. І в основному це є споруди сакрального характеру. Звичайно, в своїй діяльності ми, як пам'яткоохоронці, піклуємося за їхній стан, особливо древніх церков 11-12 століття. Для цього у нас відповідні нормативні документи є відповідні регулюючі документи і плани наші. І зараз ми завершуємо велику роботу по створенню плану управління разом з Києво-Печерським заповідником, великий дуже документ, в якого входить багато підрозділів, в тому числі буферна зона, в тому числі ми дуже чітко прослідкували, як має розвиватися і сама територія, і буферна зона Софії, в тому числі Лаври, тому це єдиний документ. Але окрім цього ми проводимо дуже багато комплексних досліджень, тому що ми в кожний момент маємо діагностувати стан наших споруд. Це і гідрогеологічні дослідження, геологічні, і геофізичні, і відслідковуємо осадки, просадки, розкриття тріщини, багато чого, і температурно-вологісний режим. Це все сходить в один комп'ютер, все обробляється, і ми можемо діагностувати стан на сьогодні. А так як ми маємо дуже велику уже статистику таких досліджень, то ми можемо вже і прогнозувати стан наших споруд на 5-10 років наперед. І знаємо тоді, коли деяку втручатися в яку структуру пам'ятки, щоб її подалі зберігати. Софійський собор, пам'ятка 11 століття, ви сьогодні побачите, не буду про неї розповідати, вона є в статусі музею. Але на доручення найвищого керівництва держави іноді проводяться богослужіння. Останнє богослужіння було, коли приїжджав 2008 року його всесвятість, Вселенський патріарх Варфоломій І. Ми тут бачимо ці кадри. Кожного року в Софійському соборі на День Незалежності проходять екумінічні богослужіння, тому що ми розглядаємо Софію як центр об'єднавства всіх культур, не тільки християнських. Сюди на День Незалежності приходять принести молитву і іудеї, і мусульмани, і християни. І раз на рік проходять такі міроприємства духовні. Але, не дивлячись на те, що тут відбуваються такі богослужіння, ми чітко вимагаємо пам'яткоохоронних норм дотримання, експлуатації нашої пам'ятки. Але так було не завжди. Я працюю в заповіднику вже 18,5 років. І коли були перші інаугурації президентів, набивалося в собор дуже багато людей. Сьогодні вже цього немає. Сьогодні вже привикли, що співробітники заповідника вимагають дотримання чітких пам'яткоохоронних норм, перебування кількості людей, користування чи не користування свічками, співу тої чи іншої тональності. І я дуже рада з того, що з розумінням всі підходять до наших пам'яткоохоронних вимог. Але окрім цього, ми іноді проводимо і культурні заходи в самому соборі. Це як вечори духовної музики, але ми теж цей духовний спів обмежуємо певними засторогами. Слідуючий об'єкт, про який би хотіла сказати, це пам'ятка 12-го сторіччя Кирилівська церква. Тут трошки інша ситуація. Ця церква, значить, в наших церквах проходять богослужіння різних православних конфесій. Ви знаєте, що в Україні їх аж 3. Українська православна церква Київського патріархата, Українська православна церква Московського патріархата і Українська автокефальна православна церква. І от всі ці церкви представлені в наших об'єктах. Ми з кожної з конфесій маємо справу і ведемо досить детальні і глибокі діалоги по утриманню наших пам'яток. Окрім цього, в нас ще в анексованому Криму залишилося 2 церкви, які довелося в мій період роботи реставрувати. Це церква 12 апостолів і церква Святої Параскеви, які теж віддані були в користування громади Української православної церкви Московського патріархата. Значить, і в Кирилівській церкві, і в Трапезній церкві Московського, Михайлівського Золотоверху, церква з Іоанна Богослова, і в церквах, про які я говорила, кримських. І зараз ще відновилися богослужіння у церкві в Теплі на території Святої Софії. Всі ці стосунки з релігійними організаціями у нас викладені в документах. Ми підписуємо відповідні угоди з церковними громадами, де зазначаємо всі пам'яткоохоронні вимоги, як вони мають їх дотримуватися, і проводимо консультації із священниками, які проводять там богослужіння. Ну, як приємний такий приклад про Івана Богослові церкви у нас відбулося нещодавно, хотіла б сказати. У 91-му році була заключена угода на постійну оренду цієї церкви. Документи заключалися на основі існуючих на той період регулятивних документів, указів президента. Звичайно, за стільки років, з 91 по 2017 рік, змінилося дуже багато установчих державних документів. Тому сама церква прийшла, вірніше патріархія, церква звернулася до міністра культури, щоб всі документи поновити. Звичайно, це була і наша підготовка до цього листа патріарха Філарета. І такі документи ми зробили на основі нових нормативних документів держави. Церква ця передана в постійне користування. Ми з нею наглядаємо як пам'яткоохоронці. Пам'ятка архітектури 12 століття, Кирилівська церква. Тут трошки інша ситуація. Вони мають її користуватися тільки на час богослужіння. Ми для них відкриваємо церкву, ми її закриваємо, а в час, коли не проходить богослужіння, там йде музейна робота, обслуговуються туристичні групи, вводяться наші всі музейні міроприємства. Вони нам відшкодовують комунальні платежі і охорону за цю церкву. Така ж сама... В цьому році, як приємний теж приклад, можна сказати, що церковна громада віднайшла кошти, і подивіться, в якому стані була церква. За кошти громади ми відреставрували церкву, і от ми бачимо її вже відреставровано в цьому році. За кошти громади була підписана тристороння угода. Заповідник на себе взяв всі пам'яткоохоронні і дослідження, і супровід, і технологічний, архітектурний, і технічний. Але і самі ми виконуємо реставраційні роботи, і в цьому році вже закінчив повний комплекс реставраційних робіт всередині. Церква тепла на території архітектурного ансамблю Святої Софії. В 16-му році поновилися богослужіння. В 80-му році ця церква була спроєктована як музей, чисто як музей. Тому у нас виникли проблеми із інтер'єрами, тому що там була розміщена постійна експозиція. Ну і от численні перемовини і чуття одне одного привело до того, що у нас церква є і музеєм, і діючою церквою. Вранці до нашого музейного часу і після нашого музейного часу йдуть богослужіння, а в цей час ми працюємо як музей. І дуже приємно, що в інтер'єрі залишилися музейні предмети, що навпаки приваблює людей, віруючих. І ще одна церква 18 століття, Андріївська, вона є окрасою Києва, всі інтер'єри. Тут у нас не зовсім відносини склалися із настоятелем церкви. На превеликий жаль, те, що було прописано в договорі на користування, це мінімальне користування свічками, захаращі інтер'єри не виконувалося роками, хоча неодноразово ми збиралися, обговорювали, приходили до консенсусу, що цього не буде, тим паче настоятель робив те, що хотів. І це привело до того, що церква прийшла в дуже поганий стан, і ми з 16-го року проводимо реставраційні роботи. Там величезний комплекс робіт і по укріпленню пройшов, і інтер'єрні роботи зараз проводяться. Мабуть, чули указ президента. Зараз указом президента ця церква видана під Ставропігію Вселенського патріархату в Києві. От які роботи, які проводяться дуже коротесенько в цій церкві. Ну, окрім цього, заповідник, я вже казала, ми виступаємо в ролі такої організації, яка навколо себе об'єднує всі релігійні організації. У нас проводяться всеукраїнські церковні наради, проводяться круглі столи, проводяться дискусії на теми збереження, охорони пам'яток, на які ми запрошуємо діячів церкви. Церква, в тому числі, теж на нашій території проводять свої богословські різні круглі столи, на яких участвують наші наукові співробітники. От як приклад я от показую зображення. Разом з нами працює відкритий православний університет. Це організація зовнішня з нашим інститутом, з яких ми теж дуже багато різних проводимо проєктів про толерантність в релігії, про терпимість в релігії. Ну і нещодавно в цьому році в нас відвідали і із Афону, це запрошення відкритого православного університету і заповідника Софія Київська, делегація Афонського монастиря Кутлумуш. От у нас був і романах Хризостом, і монах Пасій, які вони провели дуже цікаву лекцію «Сум, туга, жаль та споруди», на якій дуже було багато присутніх людей. Ну, така робота, такий у нас досвід співпраці з релігійними організаціями, з різними православними, які існують в Україні. Дякую за увагу. Я закінчила.
Thank you very much. And now we invite to ask questions about the presentation, please.
Максим Мельничук. Я бы хотел спросить насчет журнал-корреспондент, насчет консервации. Просто я знаю, что в этом году должна была София Киевская сотрудничать с фондом из Кипра насчет реновации фресков. Ну, и просто хотелось бы узнать, как это сотрудничество продолжается. Продолжается ли и как оно, так сказать, выглядит. Спасибо.
Дякую за питання. Я вам по-русски отвечу. Да, очень было приятно, когда приезжал директор фонда Leventis Foundation в прошлом году. Мы провели серию переговоров. рассказали о наших проблемах. Я думаю, что для них и интересен был Софийский собор, потому что уникальные мозаики византийского периода сохранились вот на наших территориях бывшего Советского Союза практически только у нас. Но заинтересованность была большая, и мы написали грант. Это Елена, которая возле со мной, она занималась этим грантом. И очень быстро, поверьте, мы даже не ожидали, очень быстро пришел ответ, что мы получили те деньги, которые просили на реставрацию мозаик. Мозаики реставрируются в центральном трансепте, южная сторона. Если зайти в собор, и вы сегодня будете, вы увидите эти леса, которые стоят, и наши реставраторы. А реставраторы у нас не наемные, а те, которые работают в составе заповедника София Киевская. Я их собрала лучших, и у нас целая мастерская по реставрации мозаик и фресок древних. Потому вы это все увидите. У нас прекрасные отношения. Вот в ближайшие дни мы ждем еще одного специалиста из этого фонда, которым, я думаю, что мы продолжим эту программу не только мозаик и фресок реставрации их, но и продолжим работу по художественному освещению Софиевского собора. По крайней мере, такие разговоры мы сейчас начали уже, и надеюсь очень на позитивный результат. Да, вот эта реставрация, которая сейчас идет, она планируется 10 декабря, мы должны начинать снимать уже леса. Да, да, очень интересные там находки нашлись. Это отдельно расскажу вечером.
My question to Mr. Gitu Wundumau, I think, Ethiopia. Actually, you mentioned that the continuation of kingdom of axiom, religious and political. I can understand the religious actually continuation, but how to assert the political control of the monastery while you have now government and axiom with kingdom? You mentioned that in your monastery, there is a continuation for the kingdom of axiom from the religious and political out of view, right? But I can understand religious actually continuation because this is the monastic life. But how you asserted political control over this monastery while it was under kingdom and now you are government, you know?
Thank you. If I understand correctly the question, the continuation of tradition is one of the criteria. One of the criteria which was demanded, which criteria for the description of cultural sites on the World Heritage Site. So I tried to show that there was a kingdom which is called an Aksum kingdom. It starts from the 1st century BC up to 8th century BC. And after that, another kingdom came, which is called the Zagwe dynasty. So there are continuation of traditions from the previous kingdom to the Zagwe dynasty, which was constructed the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. And these continuations were reflected on the design and the type of the architect which are found on the buildings. This is to show that this tradition is continuation from the previous architectural design in the country. But when it comes to the current situation, both the government and the religious institutions has their role, are their own respective role over the management of the churches. When it comes to conservation, because it is the World Heritage Site, the state party has the biggest role for conservation because maintenance needs professionals which are coming from the government side. But on the other hand, the church is still a living heritage, and the religious institutions, especially the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, have a biggest role in managing the day-to-day activities of the spiritual life and the situations, the management of the sites within the site. This, if I understand correctly the question, this is what I try to answer. But before I finish, for the organizers, one of the benefit of such workshops is experience sharing. And most of the problems we have are similar, and there are also different problems. So this is an opportunity to share experience from each other. And what do you plan to give us the presentations presented by different countries and sites?
All the presentations will be downloaded on the website of UNESCO. There is a page dedicated to this event, and we'll download the presentations, and we can also share between us. I can.
Yes. I have a comment and a question at the same time from the site of the baptism of Jesus in Jordan. As I mentioned yesterday, most of the water of the Jordan River has been diverted for irrigation purposes, and the remaining water is polluted, which is creating negative impacts on the ecological integrity of the entire riparian ecosystem. As I mentioned yesterday, there is an international and interfaith project of ecological restoration going on, which is promoted by the Friends of the Earth Middle East. This is international interfaith because it involves Israel, Jordan, and Palestine, and it involves Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. So given the very interesting approach that it was explained, collaborating with different Christian churches, my question is, are the Baptism Site Commission and the environmental agencies of Jordan collaborating in the ecological restoration of the Jordan River ecosystem? Could the World Heritage Site Commission apply the collaborative approach they used with all Christian churches to support the ecological restoration of the riparian ecosystem?
Thank you for your question. Really, we don't have complete reply for this question, but I think this project is very important for between the three states of in Jordan Valley. This project assigned with Jordan River Authority for prevent or the water for this area, but until now we don't have any threats or risk for any flooding or something like that for the archaeological site. We already in the baptism site we have preventive conservation for any threats and effect of the site during the study this project. We hope to updating this project in the future, and I will inform our colleagues in the baptism commission to be continue and back for this project to study and to be involved in this project, because as the baptism commission don't involved until now for this project, it should be a good advice for you, from you to be continue and to be inform our colleagues in the commissions, baptism commission and Department of Antiquities of Jordan to understanding this project and have to be enhanced on conservation of the baptism site.
Thank you. Any other questions or to speakers or comments?
I also have two questions. One question for Mr. Getua Safa Vondimu. You refer to the involvement of the local community in restoration works of Lalibela churches. I'm very interested of this issue, please.
Yeah, one of the principles is to involve and transfer on-job training to the local communities. And although most of the techniques and most of the studies were done by international expertise, when it comes to the practical work of restoration of the churches, the local communities involved, trained and involved on the actual work of restoration. This is to bring a sustainable solution for the future restoration of the churches, because if we cannot depend on the expertise which are coming from abroad. So the idea and the principle is to train the locals and continue to restore the churches, and also to maintain the traditional way of maintaining the churches.
Yes, thank you very much. We have the same politics in villages with fortified churches, which the Saxon left Romania, and we also have the Romanians and a lot of Roma people, and we train them in traditional works, techniques, and they became very involved and attached to the values of these monuments in this way. Thank you. And I also have a question for Mrs. Bushran Abbas. If you can give us some more specific details about the components of this baptism site commission. You said that you have this commission, which is led by a prince, and what are the members, or what are the stakeholders involved in this commission?
Okay, my colleague will answer you, because he's more of an expert than me.
Thank you.
The members of the commission of the baptism site is from Minister of Prince Ghazi, and stakeholders from Jordan River Authority, and from Minister of Tourism. The Minister of Tourism is members of this commission, and General Director of Antiquity Site of Jordan, and from military government, is the member of this, and Jordan Commission Board. That's all of the members.
Thank you very much. I think that.
I want to ask our colleagues from Romania, do you have, or what are your criteria you have to identify the church used, especially in pilgrims period, or is there any criteria you have to identify exactly how can the church will be received for the people during the pilgrim day? Do you have criteria? I'll decide. It could. Do you have criteria? No, the criteria. We have criteria. If you can't decide to be this church to be open for the pilgrim. All churches are open. Yes. Do you have criteria? When decide that for to coming to the church?
I came from the church, and when once a year, when the saint is celebrating, when the celebration of the saint, of the patron of the church. So once a year, there are pilgrimage at each, not on each church, but several churches, once a year.
But we also have religious tourism, which is developed every day. Yeah, so they come to pay respect to the relics every day. And we do not program the entrance. They only manage on the site, they manage the entrance in the churches, because you see in Voronezh, you only may allow a group of a bus. enter once. And we develop alternative attraction for the site, which are museums of the site, some specific shops with religion art, traditional objects. But the churches, they stay open all the day, and they allowed people to enter and assist to the services or pay respect to the relics every day, from morning till evening.
So the tourism, the religious tourism, is a daily. It's a daily routine, you know.
Yes.
But the pilgrimage is once a year when most of the religious.
This huge pilgrimage with a lot of believers. Yes.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Last questions because we are out of schedule.
Yesterday we discussed about many important issues, and there is one though that we have not discussed yet sufficiently, and it is very interesting because it affects our work. In the case of countries where religion and the state have a close link, collaboration theoretically might be more easy. In other countries that are now considering splitting the two, what impact will that have on the conservation of religious heritage? Will it make collaboration easier, or will it make it much more difficult? This is something that at a point we must discuss to see what we can propose on this issue. Greece, for example, the political party in power right now, considers that it should move measures to separate the two. Because right now in Greece, all churches, all faiths are tolerated and accepted, no problem. But Orthodox Christianity is the prevailing religion. And they are considering a change in the constitution that would separate the two. What impact will that have? Is this something that we should consider in our work?
Thank you, Mr. Papagiannis. I propose you to continue our discussion at coffee break, but we are out of schedule, so we have 10 minutes for coffee break. Thank you.